My name is Taylor, and I'm the general manager of Music Shop 360. And really, what our objective is today is to give everybody a good chance to kind of see what my music staff does. We have a good mix today on the webinar with us of both users of Music Shop 360 as well as stores and individuals who aren't necessarily using the Music Shop 360 product right now. We have done a really good number of integrations with a number of companies, and I'd have to say this one is probably one of the ones we've been most excited about, and it's really kind of been a long time coming, and we're very, very excited to be partnering with my music staff. And so really the purpose of today is just to give everybody a really good look at the My Music Staff product. That's going to be led today by Chris and Aaron, and so I'll let them kind of introduce themselves and give a little bit of background. We have some really special offerings that we want to talk about today as well. So yeah, we're excited to get started with this. And with that, Aaron, why don't I kick it over to you and we'll get started.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Taylor. Yeah, just to echo your sentiment, I know this has been this integration between us and the Music Shop 360 has been a few years in the making. I know we've talked to many people when we're down at NAMM. The pandemic kind of slowed things down a little bit. So on our side too, we're really excited that this is kind of ready to go and out there, and we're able to talk about it. So I'm Erin. I'm the strategic communication specialist here at My Music Staff. And then with me, I have Chris. He's here. I don't think his camera's on, but he is here just down the hall from me. Actually, Chris is one of our awesome customer success specialists. So if you are using My Music Staff and you give a call into the support line, there's a good chance that you would get Chris on the phone on the other end, or he's really great at helping with the tickets. He does our onboarding calls and some other group demos. So today I'm just going to give kind of a quick overview on, a high level overview on some of the features that My Music Staff has. And then I'm going to pass it over to Chris, and he'll actually be able to show you one of our demo accounts so you can kind of see what I've talked about in action. Anything to add, Chris, or all good?
Yeah, thank you. No, it was a great introduction. I don't think I could have said it any better myself. Thank you. We will be showing, I know we're limited in time, so if anybody is interested in reaching out to us, talking to us on the phone, we love to help. And the onboarding sessions that we do offer, group sessions, one-on-one. So reach out to support if you're interested in something like that, and we can hook you up.
All right, all good there? So yeah, like I said, we are My Music Staff, a music studio management software, and now we are integrated with Music Shop 360, which is the reason we're all here today. Just to give a quick overview of what My Music Staff is, it helps music teachers and music stores automate and streamline the administrative work that goes into your lesson programs. It is a cloud-based application, so that means you can access your account on any device at any time as long as you're connected to the internet. And you'll always have your most up-to-date information. So the core features that we always like to focus on that I'll just kind of run through quickly today, and then Chris will show you kind of the details of how these work. One of the big ones is student management. So you can have your student list in there, manage all the contact info, you can send mass communication out, you can record private notes about students or families. And this is also where you would set up the default pricing information, which is just sort of a shortcut to what their typical lesson cost would be. The next piece of that is the lesson scheduling. So we've got this really robust calendar feature that's kind of the core of how everything on My Music Staff works. You can customize a lot of it. You can create custom categories, custom locations. If there's any online lessons you're running for your lesson program, we do have integrations with Zoom, Skype, and FaceTime. You can also sync your calendar to an external device. So if you use your phone a lot and you want it integrated into, another Outlook calendar, so you can get a sense of all the events you've got going on at once, you'd be able to do that. And then the next piece of that, our final core feature, is the attendance and notes section. So this is where, when it's time to actually run the lesson, the music teacher can pull this up. We've got your standard attendance statuses available to record students who are present, who are absent, or if the teacher is absent. But beyond that, there's so much more you can do on the attendance and notes page. You can record detailed lesson notes to keep track of what the students are doing throughout their lessons. You can link to online resources. We have an online resource section where anyone can or teachers can upload files. There's unlimited file space in there. So whether it's sheet music, whether it's videos, whether it's audio files, backing tracks, all of that can be uploaded and linked directly to that lesson note. If makeup credits is something that you're offering, that would be handled through the attendance area as well. And just a note about that lesson note section, we also recently added a lesson note templates option, which is great just to help automate and streamline. So week to week, instead of rewriting the same type of notes in the same structure, that's just a quick shortcut to get things streamlined during the lesson time. Like I said, the calendar is sort of that central core feature to everything that my music staff does. And the reason for that is we run based on calendar-based billing. So what that means is, of those 3 core features I just talked about, in the students menu, you're setting up how you want the student to, or how much you want the student to pay. So whether that's a per lesson rate, a flat monthly rate, or an hourly rate. And that can be different for every student. Students with multiple teachers can have a different rate with each one, depending on what that is. Then over on the calendar page, that's when you're telling my music staff when they're coming to the lesson. So you build out that schedule, and based on what that default rate is, it's now keeping in mind, okay, let's say it's a per lesson rate. So every time one of these lessons is added to the calendar, it would be at that rate. And then the final piece of the puzzle there is the attendance. So when you are marking that attendance, whether it's present, whether it's absent, and they didn't give enough notice and you still want to bill them for it, that is telling the system, did they attend their lesson? And so should they be charged for it? So behind the scenes, my music staff is using all of that information to automatically calculate how much they owe for their lessons. Now, with the Music Shop 360 integration, the actual payment side of things would be handled on the Music Shop 360 side, but the information about how much to charge for the lessons would be coming through based on that calendar-based billing. That is not everything inside my music staff. Those are just those core 3 features I really wanted to highlight to give a sense of the calendar-based billing. Beyond that, though, there is a lending library. So if you have physical items you're wanting to keep track of, like sheet music books, you could store that in there. The online resources I mentioned to upload files, things like widgets to place on your existing website to pull in new student information to add them to the system, and all sorts of reporting. And one other piece of the puzzle here for my music staff, all of that was on the teacher side. We do also have a student portal. So students and if they're young students, there could be a parent login as well. Sort of the client side of the application for them to go in, view their own calendar. They could register for open lesson slots if you have those available. There's a lot of customization in terms of setting the deadlines and policies that you already have. So you can reduce last minute cancellations, make sure that they're registering for some sort of event with enough time, and gives you that one-stop shop to view those lesson notes, those online resources, and that information that you're providing in the attendance section. And before I pass it over to Chris to show you that in action, I just also wanted to highlight, like he mentioned, we do have a fabulous support team. We all work in the office here together. Chris is just down the hall, but there's a team of them there. We are available by email, by phone. We've got some self-help articles, video tutorials. So for more information on any of this, or if you are using my music staff and then come across something you just need some additional help with, we are here to help. And all of that I just talked about comes into a total of $14.95 a month for a single teacher login. And then every additional teacher login is an additional $4.95 a month. However, like Taylor mentioned earlier, we did have sort of a special offer we wanted to put out there. If you are a new member interested in signing up for my music staff, we are offering for you guys a special 60-day trial as opposed to our usual 30-day trial. So the link is right here. We can also throw that in the chat later on, just so you have that. So mymusicstaff.com/musicshop360. And with that, I will pass it on over to Chris to pull up one of our demo accounts and kind of show the visuals to support how all those features work.
Awesome. Thanks, Erin. So now we're going to take a look at my music staff. When you first log in, so this, just to preface, this is a multi-tutor account. So the main difference between a multi-tutor account and a single tutor teacher account is this page over here on the main menu is this teachers and staff page. So when you've upgraded the account to a 2+ teacher account, you will see this menu appear. This is where you're going to manage your roster of teachers. But otherwise, functionality is the same. You will see some things that are unique to a multi-teacher account, like the ability to change, because Paul here is an owner of a multi-teacher business. He has the ability to change and see all teachers' agendas. He also has access to certain financial revenue and looking over all the events he has for the week. So this main page, you do get some information at a glance. You'll see how many events Paul has left for the week, how many events the teachers have left for the week in total, how many payments received. So this part you can kind of ignore when it comes to projected revenue and payments, although projected revenue is going to be handy, but a lot of the payments are going to be handled right through Music Shop 360. So stay tuned for more information from Taylor later. If this is too sensitive, say you're teaching in person, you want to hide it, there is a little button to hide. This is a sticky setting, so it'll remember this next time you log in. So if maybe something you want to hide all the time, you can leave it like that. Just underneath that, we've got, you'll notice today's agenda for Paul. There is a scheduled lesson. We can see the location, the time of the lesson, the attendees of the lesson. We can see that there were recent notes. We can actually jump in and take attendance right away. So it's really quick. If you need to just open up your laptop, log in and take attendance for the lesson, no need to go looking for it on the calendar. It's right here on your today's agenda. And if it's a Zoom meeting, the integration that's built in, which I'll show you how that works a little later on, you'll see that this button here will take me right to that Zoom meeting. And that can be shared with your students in a streamlined way as well, which we'll highlight. We can move on to the next day. If we want to peek ahead, we can kind of skim ahead and see what's on for the next day as well, if you're interested. So before I jump into some of these core pages, I just want to show a couple settings. So I think it's important if you're a new My Music Staff user to kind of go over the settings, set it up the way you'd prefer your studio to be set up. So when you click on your profile name, you'll get two options. All teachers will have this option here for My Preferences. This is just things pertaining to the person who's logged in. So if I click on My Preferences, you'll have things like your contact information, your Zoom meeting ID, and this will be important if you do teach online lessons to add that in. You have some email notifications. You have the option to email your daily agenda. Teachers can set their availability as well. So this acts as a visual cue on the calendar for whoever's handling the scheduling to see when they are and aren't available. And you also have payroll. So payroll is handled outside of My Music Staff. It's really just used as a calculation tool just to show you what teachers have earned. And I can show you that as soon as we get to the teachers page. And the other setting here, this is only accessible by an administrator. So Paul has access to the business settings. This is where all the business-wide settings are, such as the business name, the business logo, some general scheduling settings. Your membership setting for My Music Staff is handled in here. So you can sign up via credit card or PayPal. If you see your studio adding and removing teachers on a regular basis, I always recommend subscribing with credit card. It's a lot easier to switch the plan. But other than that, you can use either one. We're going to skip over the invoice, the accounts and invoices and online payments. That's all handled by Music Shop 360. So in My Music Staff, we do have this email and SMS page where you're going to handle the templates. So these are all different templates. They're all triggered by certain actions in the system, like when a lesson reminder goes out, or an invoice is going out, or perhaps an overdue invoice reminder. So we throw in a bunch of generic text here, which you can customize if you want to spice it up, maybe personalize it for your business. We use these dynamic placeholders to replace things like the recipient's first name, the information about the lesson, the date, start time, description, and so forth. And then we also do SMS templates. So if students have opted in to receive SMS notifications, they can get text reminders for their lessons, cancellation confirmations, invoice reminders, and things like that. And then we also have custom templates as well for email. These are great for anytime you're sending. A really good example of a custom email template would be like a welcome email that you would send to students, perhaps some next steps or some directions on how the studio is going to operate. We got our policies. So as Erin mentioned in her presentation, there is a student portal. So everything you're seeing that I'm demoing so far is what we call the teacher portal. And then we've got, of course, the student side of things. When we look at the policies, this is in regards to the student portal. if you've invited students and they're accessing the student portal, this is going to control your cancellations and sign-up policies. So you can control whether or not you allow signups or cancellations from a system level. If you do allow cancellations, how many hours prior can they cancel? And what kind of action does the system take if they cancel prior to that deadline? And of course, after that deadline. And then she also mentioned a makeup credit system that we've got built in. If you want to use makeup credits, you can actually adjust some advanced settings here, like limiting how many makeups a student can get, expiring any unused makeup credits. That's always a good idea. And then, of course, we do have some student portal settings, permissions, visibility, and some customization, such as when a student logs in, what page do they land on? What kind of default view do they have? Things like that. And two things I can't really advise on, but if you're a single teacher studio and you travel to students' home, we do have a way to automatically add expense entries for mileage. And we do have the ability to add sales tax to your lessons as well. Cool, that's pretty much it for the settings. If we jump over here to the teachers and staff page, this is where you're going to manage your roster of teachers. So from here, you'll see columns of information. So some of these columns might be relevant to your business or irrelevant. So you can click on the columns button, turn on and off whatever is relevant to you guys, whatever makes sense for your business. If we need to message our teachers, we can select one or all of our teachers, use the messaging tool and send a bulk email to the selected users. And then if we want to manage one of our teachers here, we just click on their name, jump into their profile. And from there, we can actually see things like their assigned students, what price the student is paying, the payroll for the teacher, that teacher's availability, and some more advanced settings like privileges. So you can control what your teachers can and can't do. Most teachers, for example, will want to be able to take attendance and maybe view their own payroll details or edit their own lessons and events. Anything outside of that would obviously depend on your relationship and responsibilities of that teacher. So we leave that up to you. Awesome. So as we also mentioned, that the prices that students are assigned to teachers, Aaron mentioned calendar-based billing is a big part of my music staff and the information that it passes over to Music Shop 360. So it's really important you set up your default prices to each teacher first. And then once you schedule out students on the calendar, it will know what charge to apply to the account and what they owe. So let's jump over to the students page. It's very similar to the teachers and staff page, whereas you have these columns of information. There's a little bit more columns that you can turn on and off about students, like whether you want to see if they have a card on file or not. That won't be really relevant in this demo, but other things like their reminders. Maybe you want to see if they have login access to the portal. These are little pieces that you might turn on or turn off depending on your business preference. And just like the teachers, we can select some or all of our students here if we want to send out a mass email or text. You can click messaging. We have a few extra options, so we can email the students, parents, or both. We can also SMS the students, parents, or both. So the SMS features will actually require you to have a mobile device, so you have to do this from a phone. This will send a direct SMS from the phone that you're using. And you can also send the student portal login information or parent login information in bulk from this menu as well. Awesome. So to add a student, it's fairly easy. We can just click the Add New button. We can just click New Student, fill out their information manually. We can also import a student list if you have one saved as an Excel file or a spreadsheet document. You can also copy and paste from that spreadsheet document. And if you are going to copy and paste or upload, we do provide a sample file to show you how the headers of the columns should look, just to make sure it maps properly into the software. If you have any issues with that, you can always reach out to support. We'd be more than happy to help import your student lists as well. So I'm just going to quickly show you how to add a student here. Real easy. There's only 3 really required fields here. It's the first name, last name, and email. And we can set their status right away as well. So if they're an active student, which can be built, and scheduled right away and communicated with. I'm going to set myself as an adult, so it doesn't require any parent information. You can assign a teacher right away, so that way they can be scheduled with that teacher on the calendar. And the 3 different billing modes we have for students is per lesson, per month, and per hour. So for the sake of this demo, I'm just going to set myself as a $50 a lesson. And my default length is 30 minutes here. So let's go next. It does give you the option to set up automatic invoicing right away, but we're obviously going to skip that. That's something that'll be handled on the Music Shop 360 side. So let's save. Great. So now I've added myself as a student, and we'd be ready for scheduling. So let's just jump over to the calendar now. So you'll notice Paul's calendar is pretty full. That's pretty normal to see for an administrator. He's going to see all teachers and students events on the calendar. So right now we're just viewing the month view. Okay. All the colors you're seeing are different categories. And the categories can be set by going into options, categories and locations. By default, you'll have 4 system categories given to you: group lesson, lesson, birthday, and vacation. But of course, you can customize those or add new ones. And this is just an example of how you could set it up. A lot of studios will set up the different subjects or instruments they teach. Every category can have reminders enabled, or maybe even different settings for reminders. So it is on a per category basis. You might want reminders for a drum lesson, for example, but not for your group guitar lesson. If you want it for all, you'll need to set that up when you add your categories. So you can send an SMS and a text. You can stagger them as well. They don't have to be the same time. If I wanted to edit this category and change my SMS reminders, I can do that easily. Okay, and if you're teaching in home or in person or in a studio or online, we have the locations button here. And this is really handy for conflict detection on the calendar. This is just to prevent you from overbooking a certain room or a certain location. It's also really handy for showing a student where exactly they're going to be. Maybe you have an exact address for your studio, or you use student's house and it has the student's home address that's populated by their profile. If you're adding a Zoom location, it's very simple. We're just going to click add location. You can call it whatever you'd like. If you're using a different program, we're just going to call it online lesson here. And I'm just going to pick the little camera icon. And it's important to set the address as Zoom meeting. You'll notice it says here uses the teacher's Zoom personal meeting ID. So on their every teacher has their own personal meeting ID on their preference, and that's how it knows to pull from that specific teacher's profile. We already have it saved, so I'm not going to create a duplicate. We're just going to close that. And we're just going to jump back to the calendar. So our calendar right now is color coded by category, but you can change that if you prefer. In the options, you have a calendar preferences tool. And here you can change things like the default view, the color code of the calendar, which can be categories, teacher, or location. Now we normally by default, we will cap the events in a day by 10, but if you'd like, you can actually change that to 25, 5, 10, 25, or unlimited are your options. The lower count really just helps with performance and loading all the events in the calendar if you have a really busy schedule. Really helpful for administrators as well. You can also change some of the calendar display settings, like maybe you don't want to show the birthdays, maybe you don't want to show the event price, things like that. And the calendar preferences is a per user setting. So if Paul changes this, it's only changing for him. Each teacher might want to display things a little different than others. And if we want to see the different views, we just click month. We can switch to week. When you're in the week or day view, you'll actually get a timestamp along the left side so we can see the proper gaps in the day. You can see a blue line which represents the current time. What's really nice about these events is we can actually pick them up and move them if we need to. So you can drag and drop. You also get little grab points on an event, so you can change the duration real easy if you need to, in increments of 5 minutes. Another thing we can do here is we can sync it to our personal devices. So this is a one-way sync, meaning that any changes that need to be made will be done inside of my music staff. And that's primarily because third-party calendars can't accommodate some of the complexities of the attendance and notes and the billing side of things on the attendance. And if you need to narrow down your calendar, maybe you want to home in on a specific teacher or student or category, you can go in here and search. So right now we actually had a filter applied for Paul. Normally it is probably a little busier, so we can clear that search. And if you want to search by a combination of 4 things, maybe I want to search for this student and see where they're located on the calendar. Perfect. So in regards to creating a lesson, it's super easy. So let's do that. We're just going to clear our search and we're going to go back to one of these dates. Let's go to tomorrow. We're going to click anywhere in the blank space. You'll get 3 options: quick add lesson, new event, and new non-teaching event. So the quick add lesson is going to assume a bunch of the default settings of the student that you already set up: the default length, the default category, the default price. So you're really just choosing who it is that you're teaching, where it is, and maybe more specifically when. So if you need to adjust the time, you can change it. And then you can select if it repeats. So maybe you want to fill out your weekly schedule for your student. You can do that really quickly. It'll add them in using all their default settings. Now, if you need something with a little bit more customization, that's where new event comes in. So this gives you custom settings. And so this is a great example if you wanted to set up like a group lesson and allow students to register through the student portal. I'll just do an example real quick for you. So we're going to make sure it's visibly publicly visible for all students. We're going to allow students to register in the portal. I'm going to set this to a maximum of 10 students. If I knew that there were going to be a couple attendees already, I could add them in, but I'm going to leave this fully open. We'll switch up the category here to a group piano class. We're going to make this a little bit different than the default. We're going to say that this is a special 1-hour class. And then you get also a choice if you want to change the price. So it always defaults to the student's price. So when they sign up, maybe they all have their own unique price already set up. But in this case, I'm going to specify a new price. I'm going to say this is a $100 group piano class. And if you have taxes, you'll notice there is a tax option. I'm going to actually turn that off. And we can publicly display a description if we want to. Okay, and then we're going to publicly display that on the calendar and save it. So when a student goes into the student portal and registers for this event, they will have a $100 charge added. There was a conflict there. I'm going to ignore that. Or let's actually just change it to an obscure time. Let's change it to 2 in the morning. That's that conflict detection kicking in, making sure I don't overbook a teacher. Excellent. So now if I wanted to home in, find that instead of scrolling through the calendar, I can actually just go in here and type in group piano and use our search. Awesome. So now we can see that $100 special group piano class, which I set up tomorrow, 2 o'clock to 3 a.m. It's the night owl class. Awesome. So that's that. If you wanted to set up your vacations, probably one of the best tip practices I give people is to set up their vacations as well. We do use that vacation category, but you can rename it if you'd like to call it something else like studio closure, holidays, whatever you want to call it. But it's a really good idea to set that up first. And that's just simply using a new non-teaching event. So this option is used for anything that doesn't require students, maybe meetings, the vacations. And then when you use a vacation date and set up your vacation dates first, if I were to go in and set up my repeating schedule for students, it would know to skip over those dates. So that way you're not deleting events later. So it's a really good idea. I think if the first thing you do is set up your vacation days, then go ahead and set up your repeating schedules, and then you're not having to look back. All right, so when I'm going to actually add myself in, so that test student I created, I'm going to quick add a lesson for myself. believe I was assigned to Brian. There I am. And I'm just going to set this up to repeat. And I'm not sure where his schedule is because I didn't look at it. So I'm just going to set myself to 8 p.m., repeat indefinitely, and save it. Perfect. You're not seeing me because we still have a search filter applied, so I would have to clear that. But instead, just because I know it's me, I'm going to search my name. I'll search that. Cool. So now you can see my repeating schedule, same time, 8 o'clock every day. We can skip ahead to the next month if you'd like. Excellent. So let's go into manage that lesson. So as a teacher, you're going to go in and click on the event. You do get a few options across the top. If I need to edit the details of the event, if I need to email or SMS the students of this event, I can. If I want to clone this event and perhaps put it somewhere on another day, I can as well to make a copy of it. And of course, you can delete your lesson from here as well. Most of all, you're just going to go in and click take attendance. So managing attendance, you'll have the attendance options present, absent, and when you mark an absence, you do get the choice if it's billable or not billable. By marking it as not billable, it'll actually just remove the charge from the account, the family account. Similar to teacher absent, you also get to decide if it's billable or not billable. I'm going to mark it present, and down here, the lesson details is where we're going to record our lesson notes. So you have the option of recording student notes, which it will always default to student notes, but you can change it to parent notes, which are only visible to the parent, and private notes, which are only visible to the teacher and the administrators. If you write a note and maybe you have a specific format or a way you like to write your notes, you can quickly save it as a template here. In the templates page, in a multi-teacher business, you have the ability to have shared templates as well. So teachers can share maybe a specific template that you like to use. And you can also have your own set of personal templates that perhaps only you like to use. We can link an online resource. Aaron mentioned we do have online resources page on the main menu, which we'll peek at in a moment. It is an unlimited storage for files and online resources. It allows you to upload to your own space. So in a multi-teacher account, you'll see each teacher has their own space. And from here, we can actually add a new resource from our computer or just pick from the existing resources we've already uploaded. We also have the ability to assign repertoires. And once you've saved your lesson notes and added your files, you can email the lesson notes to the student, to the parent, to the teacher. So I'm the admin. This is not Paul's lesson, so he can send it to the teacher and to himself, or a combination of the four. And if you need to refer to a previous lesson, now there isn't any here, but if Chris here had a previous lesson note, we could just easily look at it to recap what was taught in a previous lesson. So it's really handy to be able to reference. And once you're done, you just hit save, and that will save the attendance to the calendar. You'll notice a little green check mark to show that the attendance has been taken. If you see a little red X, you'll know quickly that it was an absence. That pretty much covers the calendar. I did want to talk a little bit about the widgets. So we do offer widgets for your website if you have an existing website. If you don't already have an existing website, we do have a template-based web builder that we've got that's included with the membership. And from there, you can actually add a custom widget. So those custom widgets, we are in the middle of rebuilding this experience, but we still provide you with a login widget and a sign-up widget. So if you wanted to give your website out to a student, they can go there, register for My Music Staff, and also return there to log into the student portal. And we can talk a little bit about that later. So the lending library you may or may not use, but a lot of physical studios, they like to lend out things like instruments or music books. So this is just a quick way to keep track of those items. When you send out an event reminder to a student, it will include something like the due items. So it'll remind them to bring those if they are due. So a really handy way for physical items. If you teach only online, this is probably irrelevant, but Nice to know it's there. We will take a quick peek here at the online resources. So you notice in this multi-teacher studio, every teacher's got their own space. Everyone's got their own folders, and then all teachers have access to this shared space. So if you wanted to look at one of those, pretty simple. We've got their folders. We can go into the folders, upload files, get the subfolders. We can download those files. We can give students access. We can revoke access. Just a handy way to keep all your assisted teaching in there. And then finally, you do have a place for business reports. So business reports here on the main menu, it allows you to get a bit of an insight on your business. If you wanted to see things like the student attendance, if you wanted to see things like the lessons taught, maybe you want to run a payroll report for your teachers, or you want to run a student retention to see how often new students are joining or how new students are canceling, things like that. Well, I hope that gives you a good idea of my music staff and how it works. I'm sure more questions will come up as you use it. I encourage everybody to start a free trial if you haven't. It doesn't require a credit card. You can play around with it, add a fake student. There is a bunch of self-help articles if you click the question mark in the top right corner. It goes over every topic regarding pretty much anything you need to know about my music staff to get started. There are a couple getting started guides for a single teacher or multi-teacher account. And of course, the contact us button here will just remind you of the phone number. If you want to drop us an email as well, you can throw in a question and our team would be happy to help you through that.
Thank you, Chris, for the quick demo. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
What we're going to do now is Aaron is actually going to send out via chat, the webinar chat, the link that you can utilize to go ahead and get signed up for my music staff. And so she'll pump that into the webinar chat. And then for those stores, we've had a number of questions. We've had a number of questions about the actual integration. We'll be doing two things. We'll reach out to you individually to get it set up and get it configured for you. And then the other thing that we'll do is here in a couple of weeks, we'll actually be doing another webinar to just go over the integration piece. Okay, so we didn't want to take up a whole lot of your time today, so we've broken it up into really kind of two webinars. So our team will handle that. We won't have my music staff on that specific webinar, but our development team will be on that call, and we'll kind of walk through the specifics of the integration. But for everybody on the call today who's indicated an interest in getting it set up, we'll circle back with you individually, take you through that on a one-on-one demo, and then get that set up for you. For those of you who are not currently using Music Shop 360 and do have an interest in taking a look at that as well, the special that we're doing on Music Shop 360 is a 50% off the setup cost of our system through the end of the month because you've attended the webinar today. So again, we'll circle back with everybody and see how we might be able to best help out there. We did have a number of questions come in on the Q&A that I've tried my best to kind of get all those answered, and I think I did through the Q&A. So everybody should see those. If you do have another question about the My Music Staff product itself, please feel free to pump that into the Q&A section right now. And while we have Chris and Aaron with us, and we'll make sure we get those answered for you. Any questions there? Kind of do a going once, going twice here in just a second. So, okay, I don't see anything else coming in. So feel free to look at the kind of Q&A log that is in there as well. Chris and Aaron, anything else you'd like to share with us?
I mean, Chris kind of went over everything there. Like we've mentioned a few times, if you do have a question that pops up or you do create the trial account, start poking around and something pops up that you're just not too sure about, like I said, we've got our support team, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Eastern time zone, Monday to Friday. They're available outside of those hours. Send in an email, leave a voicemail. They'll get back to you within 24 hours. You do have an opportunity as well to set up a one-to-one onboarding call when you first get started. So even just a matter of like getting the student information in, asking some more of those questions about the calendar. That is an opportunity that's included free in that trial. So you are welcome to kind of sit on it, have a bit of an exploration on your own. And then as those questions come up, we are here to help.
Yeah, and then everybody's going to be out at NAM as well. So we'll be out at NAM ready to answer any questions you have there as well. Looks like we do have another. Okay, yeah, Johnny, we'll make sure to reach out to you as well. So we'll connect with you. If you could actually, I think, Johnny, we probably have your contact information in the registration link. But if you also want to just put it in there, actually, that should be fine. We'll reach out to you that way. That way you don't have to post all your contact information in the Q&A. All right, perfect. Well, again, really appreciate everybody jumping in today. We'll look forward to chatting with everybody again here in a couple of weeks, and then we will circle back individually as well. So again, a lot of thanks to Aaron and Chris for jumping in here today and facilitating. Again, we're really excited about this integration. It's going to be awesome. So look forward to chatting with everybody again, and hope you have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Thanks, Taylor. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks everyone.